In all the crowded pageant of history, from the dawn of civilization to the present day, the roles played by woman have been undeniably important. Long regarded as the weaker sex, woman has many times proved herself a worthy champion of the cause, for which man has fought and died. One reads of her valor and bravery in war, her skill in the arts, her devotion and patriotism, the tenderness, love and encouragement which she combines with a wise understanding and care, so befitting her in her role of the eternal mother of man. Let us bring history up to date and see how woman is taking her place at man's side in the railway life of Great Britain. Here we are back in the good old days, when woman was free to nurse somebody else's baby if she didn't happen to have one of her own. Then again, her deft fingers would be employed in bringing back the tide to somebody else's permanent wave. Midday would find her serving somebody else's joint and two veg. At the office, she would be writing somebody else's letters. And in the domestic world, she would clean somebody else's house up before and after the night before. Last, but by no means least, she would of course take care of the baby. Long years of war and worry already gone, and at last woman finds it is her turn to be conscripted to the forces in the factories. But she won't shirk the responsibility. Her mother did the same job with honor in the last war. From ration points to traffic points may be a far cry, but she is quite at home with either. Invested with the authority of the law, she regulates the station traffic, without argument, but with just that smooth but commanding movement of the arms. Already we know how well the hand which once rocked a cradle can handle a 100-weight barrow. That hand can label and load your goods like an old hand, and if, maybe, you think Blondie looks a little too exotic to be a porter, you must believe us when we say that she is no dressmaker's model disguised in the company's uniform, but a real woman doing a real man's job. One naturally expects that the girls who are taking such a big part in the war effort would be a success with the males. And the fact that you get your letters with a minimum of delay is another proof of woman's adaptability and worth. Sally and Irene and Mary here undertook to do the work which their men had left for the more important jobs awaiting them in the forces. The voice which once crooned a lullaby is now, with the aid of a microphone, announcing train times, destinations, and other information which the harassed wartime traveller finds so helpful. If one listens as well as looks out in the blackout, there is rarely any reason for going wrong.
Fast train to Victoria, calling at Preston Park, Haywards Heath, Gatwick Airport, Red Hill, East Croydon, Clapham Junction, and Victoria. Hurry along, please, for Victoria train from platform 5.
Time was when booking clerks were just voices behind windows, voices which demanded so much for our cheap day returns, or whatever it was. Again, many of the owners of the voices have relinquished their positions to women, who demand just so much for our tickets with the best of them. You men may say, pity the date's only on the ticket. At the platform barrier, the fingers which clip your ticket so capably are the hands of the busy woman whose interest for many years has been the careful running of her home. The owner is fully conversant with the details of the timetable, and she is seldom caught napping by the man who tries to pass her with an out-of-date ticket. It is evident that the Amazon traditions did not die with the Greeks. At the depot, that tradition is still manifest in these hardy specimens, who are doing sterling work, handling heavy traffic, which must be checked, forwarded, and delivered, even though the shortage of manpower is so acute. Elsie and Doris, the two who kept their powder dry, girls will be girls. And girls will be boys too, van boys. Some of us have seen them minding the wagon, which to many may seem a little vague in its purpose. Officially, they are enrolled as vanguards, which means that on open delivery trucks, they see that nothing falls off and remains unreclaimed, and that no villain attempts to pilfer goods unknown to the driver. And now we come to the women who are doing such a grand job in the workshop. Mary and Joan know that electric welding is no pastime for nitwits, nor is it a Brock's benefit for half-hearted amateurs. Eve's husband mostly complains about drilling in his army life, but Eve does her drilling too. Eve here likes her responsible job of sharpening the saws, which had become dulled in weeks of use on the factory front. The modern miller's daughter has the sterner task of milling munitions of war. Jane swears that drilling holes in armor plate isn't half so difficult and nerve-wracking as drilling into her husband's head the fact that she deserves a new hat. Victoria herself told us that this machine is a capstan lathe. Even though it appears to be most elaborate and unwieldy, Victoria is aware of all its complications as she's a valued member of our wartime community of workers. And if you want to know what the lathe does, ask Victoria. Jupiter and his thunderbolts had nothing on our little Margaret here. It's true that all her creations get knocked on the head, but she won't be discouraged. Driving chairbolts through sleepers calls for some hard hitting, but there was no lack of volunteers for this strenuous work. These enthusiasts were determined to get their blows in, even if they did have to use two hands in the process. Jessica took on the job of welding boiler tubes and enjoys a display of indoor fireworks as often as she pleases. Normally she doesn't play with fire, but war conditions undermine the best of resolutions. Were Longfellow alive today, he would seriously have to readjust his ideas on the blacksmiths we could show him. I mean to say, of this one's hands large and sinewy, what an unpoetical suggestion. We thought that this looked quite a jolly sort of game with free petrol thrown in, but this modern Boadicea let us have a try, and our pride prevents us from letting you see the results. However, driving a Dodgem car is child's play in comparison. Testing gauges and machine parts for flaws is another task which women are tackling. One imagines that the precision and care with which the women work is the result of long service in food emporiums, where the weighing of constables to the 100th part of an ounce is everyday activity. Telegraph poles are required in large numbers on a railway, and the bark is first to be removed. The foreman told us that he had to be careful to roll his R's when telling these ladies that their job would be to strip trees. And, by the way, these were the only poles we have come across during this war who take what is coming to them lying down. At a time when we must all pull together, it is paradoxical to find that the most efficient way to do so is to pull in opposite directions in some cases. The possibility that true lovers' knots and war work could so amicably combine did not occur to us till we saw Ethel and Evelyn start twiddling the wire necessary to make concrete into reinforced concrete. Molly has a hand in mixing the concrete pudding, which she leaves in the mould to set. And then our old friends, Ethel and Evelyn, stack the finished blocks with the precision of a bee, making honey cells, carrying them with the care that a bride would lavish on her first cake. Few passengers, if any, have a thought for how their ticket is produced. Some, we fear, even think that they are quite unnecessary, but that is often the subject for another tale. Each, however, calls for a separate setting of small type. Take a closer look at the next one you buy. This is just the job for nimble fingers. The actual printing and packing may not be so intricate, as each one is numbered and must be in its proper place. Her mind must not be on the slip she might be going to make when she gets home. It may seem an anachronism to introduce a bridge party into a film about women at war, but here is one doing a splendid job in The Line Behind the Lines. Every member made a bid for emancipation, turned up trumps, and became an ace worker almost before one could say rubber. They can be regarded as veritable diamonds in the crown of woman achievement. With their hearts in the right places, they club together doing valuable spade work. Hello, have you been eavesdropping? You want to show us what real spade work can be. Very well, we will include you in our picture since you insist. But please tell us what all this energy is about. Bearing a cable, are you? You say the work is much easier than it looks, because all the time you like to pretend it is a grave for Adolf. A grand idea. Make it big enough to hold Herman, Rib, and little Gabby as well while you are about it, and you will soon be able to bury all the cable you want to. When she applied for a job, somebody told her there was one which she could have, which was certain to give her an opportunity to rise to quite a height. When she first made her way up to the controls of this crane, she thought that that person was certainly right in a way, and was inclined to be cross about it. But she has now forgiven him, because she realizes that the daily climb can be so good for the figure, particularly as the rest of the day's work is not very exhausting. Mentally, however, she must admit that it calls for concentration, and we are impressed with the skill with which she directs this giraffe-like monster to putting everything exactly where it is wanted. Whatever containers contain is as much a mystery to us as that of the sausage and the shepherd's pie. Enough to say that handling such traffic is another man-sized job which woman has tackled with excellent results. Viewed from all angles, containers are no lightweights to be dismissed from our due consideration, particularly when one remembers that they are a means of linking broken homes. Once more, woman has come to the rescue, doing vital work to keep alive the Englishman's regard for his household goods. His especial castle, to which we hope and trust he may soon safely return. And so at the end of the shift, the homeward trek begins, and these stalwarts leave the workshop and railway yard, maybe to take up more domestic duties. We have now paid our tribute to woman as a wife, a mother and a grand fellow worker. To her task of looking after the home fires, she has added the tending of the fires of industry. To her care for home and the baby, she has added the cares of the railway station, the goods yard, and the factory. She takes no merit to herself, but is just doing her bit and helping to keep the wheels running until the men return. As the tide of war has claimed more and more men for sterner duties, woman has come forward to fill the gaps. She has taken on one task after another, and has become so capable that, for the time being, she can really almost do without men.